How are you doing? It's Martin. How are you doing? I'm Martin from Gardens for Life and Birdland Homestead. Welcome to today's Q&A session. This is the third session now. And if you want to look up the older sessions that we had last week and the week before, those are also available on the website as well, or on any of our social media profiles. So we'll just hang on there for a second, just to see when people are joining. How are you doing, Bianca? Thanks for joining. So hopefully we'll get lots of questions today. And that's what the questions and answers sessions are all about. But I'm going to also go onto our website and actually take a look at some of the older posts on it as well, just to see what our gardens used to look like, and possibly what they could look like, or what they do look like now, actually, a few years later. The sound is okay, is it? All right, that's good. Let me just move the microphone here very gently. So hopefully, is the sound loud enough? Is it? Is it the right kind of volume? We're still messing around with microphones and testing them just to see what works the best. Oh, my hands are still cold. I was only outside for just about 10-15 minutes earlier, and it is so cold outside at the moment. That's good. Thanks for letting me know. Let me just have a look here. All right. I'm going to just share my screen with you. Sorry about all the funny shapes there. All right. So this is our website. And I just wanted to take a look at the weather. See, I knew well that is pretty cold. And if they say -1 in Roscommon Town, that means -4 up here where we are. Usually we get it quite a bit colder, and definitely keeping the greenhouse closed today. At least one of the two greenhouses that has doors. That's where all the seedlings are. All of the seeds that are being germinated at the moment are probably not feeling like getting up out of hibernation at this kind of temperature. So let's see if it's going to improve. Hopefully less rain, please, less rain. Looks pretty good. Easter Sunday. Getting warmer, not so bad. Oh, Jesus. Monday, more rain. Now, I know we can't predict the weather 10 days in advance anyway. I wouldn't necessarily expect them to be correct about that, but it gives us an idea anyway. So, yeah, it looks like the frosts are gone after tonight, and that's good. So, let me just take a quick look here again at the chat. All right. So, just to let you know, for those of you who want to ask me a question, you can ask me any questions you like about homesteading, gardening, food preservation, even backup power and lights as well, and anything to do with business. For example, how to start a business. So we definitely have some people showing up now. There's a few of you joining now. So that's good. So let's take a look here. I'm just going to start with a very common question, and that I have answered many times before, but I'd like to do it on video just because many of you are often wondering, what do you do about the slugs? First answer, the quick answer would be that we just ignore them. So basically, we simply, we know that there is slug pressure, just like you can have pest pressure or deer pressure, which means that certain animals, like for example with slug pressure, of course, you have a certain amount of slugs that will eat your plants, especially the young tender plants. And in general, the slugs are not a problem. The slugs are part of the ecosystem, and they are the recyclers of the cold temperate climate. And therefore, we want to keep them around. And they are also a valuable food source for many animals out there, such as the hedgehog. And the slug eggs are also food for the beetles. So if you want to reduce the slug pressure or the slug population in your garden, try to find a way to bring in the beetles. Usually bringing in wood chips into your garden, even putting them on the paths, or covering all of your gardens with wood chips, for example, to make a lasagna garden. Any of the perennial areas, especially around your annual vegetable gardens, if you cover those with wood chips, you'll have a good chance that beetles will be around and move in, and especially over winter, because it's quite warm in under the wood chips, because they're actually kind of acting as a layer of insulation on your garden beds, especially in the winter time. And even in the summertime, they also protect the soil from excessive heat and UV and from evaporation. So you'll save water in the summer, and you'll keep the growing season. You'll extend the growing season in the winter time, because the wood chips keep the soil life active for longer. So I find that it kind of extends the growing season by about a month on either end. And you don't necessarily have to have a greenhouse. You can just cover the garden with a blanket, formerly 4 to 6 inches of wood chips. Yes, welcome everybody. We have a good few people joining now. Thank you for joining the Q&A. You're very welcome to ask me any questions you might have about homesteading, gardening, especially no-dig gardening or forest gardening, which is what we're moving our no-dig gardens into. And we also answer questions about food preservation and how to start a business, or anything in general about business. If you have any questions about your own businesses, whatever you'd like to ask, that's fine. We also can answer questions about backup power and lights a little bit. So, but of course, gardening, and the garden happens to be the engine room of the homestead. So homesteading and gardening kind of go hand in hand. Now, you can do homesteading without having a garden, but I mean, if you do your gardening without homesteading, that's fine too. But the two really do connect to one another, and they what's the word for it I'm looking for? They go hand in hand, like they benefit one another. So it multiplies your efforts, especially to use your own produce and actually be able to preserve it when you have too much of it during harvest time. And hopefully, like many of you might have, an excess of the likes of rhubarb, or hopefully you're lucky enough to have an excess of tomatoes, so you can actually do a bit of canning. You can do water bath canning and pressure canning as well, but with tomatoes, you don't necessarily have to, if you add a bit of acidity, depending on what kind of tomatoes you're preserving. We're looking to do some of that, and I can't wait, Bianca. This year, this is the year now, we're going to get some tomatoes, or we're going to grow some tomatoes also, and we're going to do some canning. We want some tomato sauce for the year. That'd be lovely. Even 1 jar a week for the year would be fine. It'll definitely go a long way, and it'll not only save you money, it'll also taste so much better, and it'll have a lot more nutrition in it. So let me know if you have any questions. And you can also ask us questions about property as well. Like we bought our house 7 years ago, and we've been making lots of improvements to the house, to the land. We built this studio, you can see behind me here, Birdland Studio. Talking of which, Bianca, my wife, got the green light on a grant, so she's going to be joining a project and recording all of the songs and all the audio in the project. Congratulations, Bianca. Give it up. Yes, I can see the question there, Bianca. So, food forests and what to plant. So, a food forest is also known, that's actually kind of a permaculture term, and we love permaculture. So we would prefer to call it a forest garden after Martin Crawford. Martin Crawford in Devon, in southern England, has a lovely food forest, a 2-acre forest garden with 650 species, and most of them edible. 650 species is a lot of different plants, and a lot of them are trees as well. So in our garden, we have probably about an acre and a bit, and I think there would be about 200 species in it. And of course, most of them would be useful in some way to both the wildlife and to us humans as well, either in the form of food or medicine. You can also have a lot of plants that attract beneficial insects. These would be known as insectary plants or insectaries. And so things, any kind of plant, especially perennials, that flower for a very long period of time. Like great mullein, for example, but that's not a perennial, that's only a biennial, but it self-seeds. So that it's very handy. And we also plant a lot of buddleia and willows, anything really that grows very easily and from a cutting, so that you can just keep scaling up your forest garden. You don't actually have to necessarily start or plan out the entire site. Let's say if it's 1 acre or 2 acres, that's an awful lot of plants you need to grow. And I would highly suggest that you start with one area at a time. Now, of course, it's important to throw a few trees here and there, especially for the shelter belt, the whatever side that your prevailing winds are coming from. I would plant that up first, and just to block the winds, because in the words of Toby Hemingway, if you block the wind to your fruit trees, for example, those will grow about twice as fast. And like Bill Mollison once said, what does the forest do what does the forest do with the wind? It actually eats up the wind. It produces wood. So all of the trees on the outside of the forest, on the forest edge, usually get much thicker because they have to take more wind, and they protect the rest of the trees in the center of the forest. So definitely blocking the wind is the first thing I would do to establish a forest garden or a food forest. And I would suggest learning about plant propagation. That's the first thing I would do personally, and actually growing some plants. You can't do much wrong. It doesn't really cost much money. You can just start with some cuttings that you can get either from a friend's garden or maybe some other place, or you can buy some cuttings or plants and take cuttings from those then again. So a lot of plants we do grow from seeds, and I'm going to make a video. It's probably going to take about an hour to go through the entire list of plants that we're going to have growing this year from seed, but also from cuttings as well, just to give you an idea of what we're going to grow. We're also going to have another seed and plant swap for those of you anywhere near the Midlands of Ireland. It's definitely worth coming. And actually, here, hang on a second. I'll just show you here. Am I here? Yeah. Okay. So we do have a seed and plant swap coming up. So this is just our website, and I wanted to show it to you, just so you can see all these. Every post here pretty much is a video, and here it is, the seed and plant swap. And there's videos here of previous events as well on the website, so you can see the little picture here. And let me just have a look here. Sorry about the quality. Okay. So there was quite a few people at the last seed and plant swap, and if any of you are watching that were there, thanks for coming. And it was definitely a great time, and we met lots of friends that we hadn't seen for an awful long time. And we're going to have another seed and plant swap. We're going to have another seed and plant swap in May as well, which is in about 4 weeks' time or so. So let me just see. Folks, there's actually 16 of you connected to this live stream watching now. Thanks for joining. For those of you who have just arrived, if you could ask me any questions you like, just put those in the comments, on whatever platform you're watching this. We are streaming live to 4 different places at the moment, and including our Birdland Homestead YouTube channel. If you haven't joined it yet, please do. We'd highly appreciate you subscribing over there, because we'd like to build that up to that, so that we have a place to put all of the videos that we don't normally want to post on the gardening channel. Although I do like to include the chicken videos on the Gardens for Life YouTube channel as well, and the Odyssey and Rumble channels, because the chickens are doing work for us in the garden. The chickens, and the chickens and the garden are kind of 2 elements of the permaculture design of the homestead that are inseparable. You can have one without the other. And by the way, actually keeping chickens is, technically speaking, easier as a beginner than growing vegetables. And so if you're looking to start producing your own food, maybe chickens would be the right way to go if you haven't got a notion about how to start growing vegetables. But the vegetables can be grown too, and it's not as hard as you might think, because you can use a method called no-dig gardening. So normally, I just explain it. You just basically smother the existing vegetation, or the weeds or the grasses, and you can do that with 3 different techniques. Either you use the chickens to basically eat the weeds and scratch them, and you can move the chickens on and to another location and maybe to do the same thing, and then you make your garden. That's called chicken tractoring, when you keep moving on the chickens. The other thing you can do is you can just smother the weeds by covering them with cardboard. You can simply cover them with 1 layer of thick cardboard if it's kind of like a lawn. And if it's a field, I would cover it with at least 2 or 3 layers. Well, 2 to 3 layers is enough. And make sure you overlap it very well. Then you put your compost on top. So we usually use well-aged mushroom compost, at least 3 months old. 6 to 12 months would be better. The older the better, really. Kind of like a cheese or wine. Although the wine has to be kept in barrels, not in a bottle. Otherwise it can go off if it's kept for too long. But the compost in general only can improve with time, because it basically gets broken down more and more by the soil life and the worms. And if your compost is teeming with soil life after only 2 or 3 months of the pile sitting there on your land, well, then you know that you can trust that compost. Personally, I would trust the soil life to be the judge of whether that compost is good quality and whether it has any harmful chemicals in it. And in general, we have not had an issue with mushroom compost in 25 years, and we know the people that actually run those mushroom farms as well. And so the other 3rd way to smother the weeds is to cover it with black plastic for 2 months in the summer or 6 months in the winter. And you can take the plastic off, put on your compost. That's all there is to it. So for starting a no-dig garden, those 3 methods can be used. If you want to subscribe to our email list, you can go to our website and just put in your email address there on the front page and click subscribe. And you will get an email with access to the No Dig Questions and Answers ebook, which is free for subscribers. And if you want to support us even more, but then joining our email list, you can also support us by becoming a member. So let me just check here. So you can become a member of the Gardens of Life support community. And let me just check here. And I will give you a link for that. You can get membership, and that will give you 25% off everything we do on our online shop. And a number of other advantages as well. You just post that there. And you can also join our Patreon page as well. That's the Birdland Homestead Patreon page. We'd highly appreciate your support very much. And thank you for those of you who have supported us. And I have been full-time on the homestead and garden for 10 weeks now, would you believe it? So I quit my IT job 10 weeks ago and to go full-time on the business. I mean, the business had been full-time for 2 years at least. It definitely was a full-time job to run the business for the last couple of years. And that was on top of the job as well. So yes, I let that part of it go, and I have a much more relaxed life now. And but at the same time, I'm way more busy than I ever was before. But then again, as John Willis once said, don't be using busy as a word as a excuse. The word busy, just be effective instead. So I've got to keep that in mind and make sure that I work on stuff out there in the gardens and on the homestead that somewhat affects the bottom line of the business, not just working hard for the sake of working hard. So you gotta do some jobs. Certain jobs need to be done on the homestead and in the gardens and on the greenhouses, but you do have to do a certain degree of maintenance on an ongoing basis, like weeding the garden. I'm doing a bit of that today. My arms are actually a little bit sore now at the moment. So and my back too a little bit, just from removing some of the weeds in the garden back there beside where the chickens are. So I just put out a new video about moving the chickens, and I'll show that to you in a minute. I'm going to just check here to see if there's any questions here. Bianca has a question here. How many chickens should a beginner start with? So I always say minimum number of chickens to get is 4, not 3, but 4, because you just have to have that many because they have a little bit of a society going on in a hack order. So you got to make sure that they have enough socialization, so to speak. Same as dogs, you kind of don't really want to get 1. You got to get 2. With cats, that's a little different. But in general, like most animals, you want to get more than 1 at a time. So with chickens, I would go with 4, and you'll probably get 3 eggs a day if you feed them layers pellets. If you feed them more of a species-appropriate diet, like we do, like, for example, organic oats, and we do give them layers pellets, organic stuff too. It's about twice the price of the regular stuff, but they don't even want to eat it, I found. They would prefer to eat porridge, actually. And they also get kale on a daily basis, and they get to hunt for worms and insects in a spacious chicken pen as well. They love scratching around the place too. We don't keep them in cages. We keep them in a place where they can scratch away and behave like a chicken as well. And that makes them very healthy. And I found that you can easily add on more chickens if you have a use for more eggs. So one thing you can do is, other than just eating the eggs for breakfast, you can actually start using those eggs to make other things. Of course, not the most healthy option is cakes, but you can also make a number of other, you can use the eggs in cooking as well, like tortilla. And you can also give some eggs if you have too many. You can give some to your neighbors and convert them into social capital. And we love to create an abundance on the homestead and in the business too. And for example, growing lots of plants and cuttings and just lots of living capital. So all those plants are living capital, and we like to convert some of that into financial capital, but also some of it into social capital in various other forms as well. So we usually sell half and give the other half away, especially with our events like the plant swap as well. And for those of you who have just joined, we are going to have another seed and plant swap in about 4 weeks' time at the beginning of May. So we hope to see some of you there. If you are about within an hour or so of Roscommon town, it's definitely worth calling in for it. The last time we had a lot of people at it, and maybe there may have been about 100 to 150 people at least. And they don't all be there at the same time. They usually come in waves. So let me have another look here now to see what else we've got in the comments. Have you ever tried making rooting hormone? I've seen some videos suggesting to use willow type tea. Alternatively, which store-bought rooting hormone would you recommend? Connor said. Well, thanks for the question, Connor. I would suggest making your own, or just rooting or growing things that are easy to root instead. I actually don't use any rooting hormone at all, but maybe I should. There is some organic rooting hormones out there that are not poisonous to dogs, for example, or cats. If you have animals on the homestead or around your garden and the house in the polytunnel, I would suggest don't buy the regular stuff unless you want to keep it very safe to make sure that they don't eat it, because it's very acidic, I imagine. And so you can make willow tea. All you need to do is cut up some willow. Any type of willow at all should do it. Even willow from the side of the road, if you don't have any yet. We also still have some willow, hybrid willow cuttings for sale. It grows very fast, so it's a biomass willow. We still have some available on the website, actually, and there is a special offer on at the moment. So you can get 10% off, and I'll get you the discount code in a minute. You can use any kind of willow, cut it into pieces, and put it into a bucket of water. You don't have to fill the bucket. You just put in maybe 4 to 6 inches or 10 to 15 centimeters worth of water, and just put some of those cuttings of willow into the bucket for a week or two. And the longer the better, of course. But then if you want to use that water, you can just put your cuttings that you're going to root into that water, into the bucket. You can take the willow out after a while and just put the cuttings that you want to root into the bucket and just let them soak up some of that water, like for 24 hours or 48 hours. And that should really help them root. And I'm going to try that. I'll make a video about it soon, especially for the figs. I want to know how to grow figs more successfully. I did actually make a video about how to grow a fig tree from a cutting some years ago, but I still haven't got a good success rate on figs yet, even though they're meant to be quite easy to root. So definitely. So Connor, just real quick to wrap that up. So if you are going to buy rooting hormone, just get some organic rooting hormone, or you can make your own willow water and then just soak your cuttings in it, or don't bother with any of that and just grow things that are easy to root instead, like currants, gooseberries, willows, poplars, all sorts of different other things. So saltbush is also very easy to root, and goji berry. Unfortunately, our goji berries never flowered. They flowered, but they didn't make fruit. So let me have another look here to see. Thanks, Beacon, for that comment on the membership. So our membership on the Gardens for Life website, you do get a discount if you pay for the year. So basically, if you pay, it's €5 per month, or it's €50 for the year. So you save €10 or 2 months worth. But actually with the membership, you do get benefits with the membership, but we set it up as a way for people to actually support us and to give back. If you have been enjoying our videos, we've been making videos for nearly 7 years now. We have nearly 300 videos, so 1 per week almost, and those are all available for free to watch on the internet. And for those of you who appreciate it very much, and we would highly appreciate it too if you were to join as a member. And if you can afford €5, that's okay, no problem at all. You can also join our Patreon for €2 as well. There's also the membership option as well. So anything, even give us a thumbs up. That would support us, and we'd highly appreciate that too on whatever platform you're watching this. Hello, Vanessa. How are you doing? Welcome to the live feed. Let me just take a look. So Vanessa's asking, how do you stop mice from eating your seeds? This is the first year we've had this problem. So the question is, I assume you're talking about seeds that have already been planted into trays and left in the greenhouse, possibly on the table. It's very difficult to stop them. Really, all you can do is maybe put up traps, but you can't really protect your seed trays very well from mice, for example, unless you put some kind of like welded mesh over the top of it. And really, that's the only way that you can stop them. The other thing you can do is, like they say, if you have a rodent problem, you have a cat deficiency. So maybe more cats could be an option, or putting the seeds somewhere, or growing the seeds somewhere to germinate them somewhere where the cats are within range. That'd be another option. I assume you're not talking about seeds that are stored away. So I would, if you are storing seeds, and if you want to store them in a shed, for example, instead of the house, because the temperature is better for storing seeds, because it's lower and colder, you can put those into a vacuum. I would vacuum seal them if you know you're not going to use any of them anytime soon. If you're going to store them for more than a few months, I would vacuum seal them if you have a vacuum sealer, and then put them into a like an old a tin for biscuits, like an actual metal tin for a biscuit tin. I know they don't make them like that anymore, but hopefully you've saved one or two. I'm sure every Irish household has saved some of those biscuit tins, and they're usually used for the sewing equipment. So yeah, no, for storage of seeds, definitely in a metal container, so that the rodents can't get at it. And if you are planting them, hopefully we won't have that problem. We haven't seen any dug up seeds in our greenhouse yet in the trays that we have on the table to germinate them. By the way, some of our seeds are germinating already. The marshmallows and the hollyhocks are coming up, and there's a few other ones that are starting to show as well. So hopefully we'll get the great mullins coming up soon too. So let me see here. So Elizabeth is asking, any advice on growing sweet corn in Galway? For those of you watching from other countries, this is a cold, temperate, maritime climate. And if you are in County Galway, that means you probably have more of a coastal climate, slightly more so than we have, depending on how near to the coast you live. If you live right next to the coast, there's probably no frost, even in the winter. But I would suggest with sweet corn, you can get varieties that ripen faster and that grow a smaller cob as well. So Northern Extra Sweet is one variety that I'd recommend. And they actually they don't grow very tall. They only grow like 1 meter to 1.5 meters or 4 feet tall. And they do ripen quicker. But just make sure you plant them in full sun. Always plant things like that into full sun. Anything like leafy greens would be fine in shade or semi-shaded conditions. But anytime you're talking about flowers, for example, they'll do okay in semi-shaded conditions, but they'll do much better. They'll have way more flowers and they'll be way more vibrant. The growth will be way more vibrant in a full sun location. So especially for any plants that produce sugar. Of course, the flowers, what's the purpose of a flower? The angiosperm family of plants, they developed the flower in evolution to attract insects from around the environment. And what do they give them? The nectar. So the nectar feeds the insects, especially the pollinating insects, and just incentivizes and keeps the insects going. And of course, to get the sugar, to produce that sugar, the plant needs to have full sun, pretty much, if possible. But with any kind of plant that produces a fruit, for example, especially if it's a sweet fruit, even a vegetable, sometimes can be considered. Sometimes people say it's a vegetable, but it's not really. Like a cucumber or tomato, I guess. Tomatoes definitely want full sun, and maybe even cover, because we just have too much rain in Ireland. But with the corn, I heard that some friends of mine have grown corn in a greenhouse, and it grew way taller than expected. Even the Northern Extra Sweet grew way too tall, like 10 feet tall, and it made dust, like pollen, and it spread everywhere in the greenhouse. So it was a bit of a disaster, but he had plenty of corn to eat that year. But in the greenhouse, it takes up too much space. You're better off to plant Northern Extra Sweet started off in the greenhouse in trays, maybe even planted on into pots. Could be worthwhile if it's still cold outside, but definitely plant them outside in full sun and somewhere where there's not too much wind. Unfortunately, our corn 2 years ago got battered first by the frost, then by the wind, and then by the drought, one after the other. So half of our plants didn't make it. Well, just make sure that you go way overboard with how many plants you're planting. I'd plant them a foot apart in both directions, so like in a grid, and maybe plant more than you think. Like in a space of say 3 by 3 meters, you could plant maybe, how many is that? Oh, maybe I'm getting it wrong. 90 plants. Yeah, probably 90 plants, something like that anyway. So let's see if we've got any more questions coming in. So Kevin here is asking, do you dry any of your herbs for use in the winter, such as basil? Well, I have to admit to you that I still haven't grown basil successfully. Holy basil is lovely and it does grow, but basil, I need to set that up properly. Again, I need a location in the greenhouse that is actually suitable to grow herbs like that, where the plants don't dry out and where they get full sun as well. But I know basil probably should be grown indoors in our climate here. I'm no expert on that. But any of the herbs, for example, thyme, oregano, rosemary, any of those kind of herbs, we usually have plenty of leaves available throughout the seasons. For about 11 months of the year, we've got plenty of herbs in the garden. We do dry some of them as well. You can get these drying racks, and I will just show this to you in a minute. So you can actually dry your flowers and all your herbs in the summertime, and you can hang up one of these. Hang on a second, I'll just show you my screen here. All right. So this is our products page. So you can actually go to gardensforlife.ie/products, and you'll get all the books and things that we have that we usually recommend. And let me just take a look here, see if I can find a drying rack. I need to actually add some more books to this now. There's Sepp Holzer. Let me see here. It is not here yet. So, Bianca, would you mind just getting me a link for the drying rack, and I'll just add it. I'll add it to the comments below. So we do actually dry some of our flowers in the garden, especially the chamomile, the feverfew, and sometimes echinacea, but we don't have enough of those yet, so we prefer to just keep those as a flower in the garden. So we have an awful lot of ornamentals that also have other benefits to the local ecosystem and for the homestead life as well. So a lot of them can be useful to attract beneficial insects, but also you can dry the flowers and make some tea with it, or use the fresh flowers whenever you can. So, but you know, preserving food, preserving tea or flowers from the garden especially, or whether you're wildcrafting them or growing them, it doesn't really matter. You can, thank you, Bianca. I'm going to add that in a second. I'm going to have a look at that. So you can extend the harvest basically by preserving food or medicine, herbal medicine, for example. You can extend the harvest by drying them and preserving them, and then you can enjoy them for the whole year. So just give me a second here. I cannot take that question or the link. Just give me 1 second there. Herb drying rack. There it is. That's the one we use for drying herbs, and what's really interesting about it is that it's actually made of good quality materials, and it's not expensive. It's about 20 or 25 euro, and we found them to be quite sturdy. We've had them for 2 years now. Has it been 2 years, Bianca? I think so. 2.5 years maybe. And so there's loads of room in these compartments, and you can open the zips here, and you can put herbs in it. And it can be used to dry anything really, but mainly we use it to dry flowers, hawthorn flowers as well. And you can also dry berries in it, but I'm not sure whether they will dry out before they go moldy, unless it's a very hot day and you hang it up in the greenhouse. If you're able to hang this up in a greenhouse in the summertime, it's perfect. It's ideal. The only downside to it is that there is a lot of sun if it is sunny on those days that you're drying things, and it probably would want to be. But even if it's room temperature in the greenhouse, that's okay for most of the day. Your herbs will dry and your flowers, but the UV, I mean the sunlight, might actually just faint some of the colors in your herbs as well. So just wanted to tell you about that. Let me just have a look here. So I just want to show you one thing on our website here. Oh yes, here, that's the spot where you can put in your email address on the main page, and you can just add your email address to our email list, and it's free to subscribe. So I just wanted to show you, we have lots of videos here. We have many pages, and when you click on one of them, for example, this is the new video, or one of the new videos, and when you go down here, see the archives here, you have, it goes way back, all the way back to August 2017. So every month, I'll just pick a random month here. Let's see. So there's videos here on all sorts of things like our insect hotel, and why we don't use those anymore. We have also made a video about later. Yeah, so you can look up all kinds of different projects that we used to do on our website as well, if you go way back in the posts. We have a new video going online now after this podcast or live stream. So if anyone else has any questions about anything to homesteading related or gardening, please let me know. And if you think of another question before the next live stream next week, you can always email me at contact@gardensforlife.ie. Here's another question here. Any advice on keeping chickens out of veg beds without using netting? Well, that's a good question. I would suggest not letting your chickens roam free in the garden, because they're just going to eat all the worms in the soil, in your compost that you put on your garden beds. That, I think, would cause more damage than it's worth. I mean, in terms of the weed control, I would suggest keeping the chickens in their own area, especially if you have an electric fence. I would suggest moving the chickens around your garden. You get them to eat up all of the grasses and scratch all of the weeds surrounding your entire veg garden, just to make sure that those grasses don't become a problem, and that you also have perimeter control then, kind of eating all of the slugs and the slug eggs as well. So you will have a lot less issue with slug pressure, but also you have a lot of new space that you can expand your garden into. So, oh yeah, by the way, on the slugs, I just want to tell you, actually, I'll finish off that thought first. So you could make a little cage, like a little mini chicken tractor, like maybe 1 meter by 2 meters or something like that. Or maybe make it the same size as the garden bed, if your garden beds are a certain size. And you could just move the chickens, put 1 or 2 chickens, or put 2 or 3 chickens in it, and just keep moving it along so that your chickens actually eat all of the weeds in the garden beds, especially on raised beds. That works quite well. Now, if any of you that have watched me for a while probably will know that I'm not a big fan of raised beds because the initial investment is very high, the initial cost, but also the fact that it's an artificial environment, so you have to control environmental factors more, which means that plants on the edge will dry out, and also it will not last forever. I think it's far better to just spread your compost on the ground instead. And have a look, Kevin, have a look at the, or sorry, Connor, take a look at our newest video. There's actually 3 videos. The last 3 videos that I put up are all about moving the chickens to another area. And I talk about that quite a bit in those videos. And so, yeah, so we could take another look at our website, but for now, I think we'll leave it at that. Have any of you got any questions, especially related to homesteading, gardening, business? Maybe even our transition from a consumer to a producer lifestyle, because we are only on the way, where we haven't done it or anything like that. But we'll probably make a dedicated session just for those kind of topics. So let me just see here. All right, I think we'll leave it at that for today. So thanks for watching the video. Thanks for being here on the live stream, I should say. And for those of you who are watching this afterwards, please do take a look at the first 2 questions and answers sessions. So in the future, we're going to be leaving just these 3 sessions up on the website for people to watch, and we will still allow access to everybody to jump on board on the live sessions. We'll still have to keep doing these live sessions, but we're only going to post a video of them afterwards on our Patreon channel and on our members page as well. So we'll just archive these videos there, and if you have any questions that we can answer, please let us know and send us an email to contact@gardensforlife.ie, and we will try to answer your question the next time. Please make sure that you put the word question in all caps in the subject line first. All right, we'll see you the next time. Thanks for being here. See you later.